Not long ago, I came across a quote that said, "A woman that has daughters will have best friends for the rest of her life." I never really viewed my relationship with my mother as a friendship, but after pondering that quote, I realized that is exactly what my mother was to me. She passed in 2017, so I wish I'd come across it sooner. As a friend, I would have shown an appreciation so much more. There are scholars that have broken the phases of motherhood into as many as 9 categories. They range from pre-pregnancy all the way to, "I'm here if you need me." To my point of friendship between mother and daughter, let's skip phases 1 through 6, because honestly, any mother who survives those stages has already reached sainthood. In the case of my mother and I, adolescence was by far the most difficult to navigate. So by the time we reached the empty nester phase, I was sick of my mother telling me what to do. So, after high school, I enrolled in the military, only to find there was always someone telling me what to do. They, however, didn't have my best interests. You know who did? My mom. Shortly after my arrival to training, on a phone call home, my mother asked me, "Why does your voice sound so hoarse?" And I explained that due to a fire drill, we were made to stand outside in the rain in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops. Not complaining, just explaining why I didn't have a voice. The next day, I was called into the captain's office. Apparently, my mother did not like the idea of standing outside in the rain. Now, I don't know the full conversation, but the captain had me call my mother and assure her that I would not be made to stand outside in the rain for the remainder of my training. My mother earned 10 points towards friendship status that day. And once in college, I was in a play that yielded a whole $10 entry fee. But my mother took off work, bought a plane ticket, and made her way to North Carolina to see me opening night as if I was starring on Broadway. Years later, 15 years later, she actually had an Oscar-like trophy made for me for that marriage. Now, my mother may have been experiencing empty nester syndrome, but for me, that was some cheerleader friendship type stuff. When children begin to transition into adulthood, the scholars call this the transition phase. When mother and daughter experience adulthood together, the roles might get a little blurred. When my mother and I vacation together, I sometimes take on the mother role. Once on a cruise, we rented a private boat, and my mother became a little too tipsy and a little too flirty with the captain, who had lost track of time due to flirting with my mother. Me, fearful that we were going to miss our departure, interrupted and demanded that the captain quickly get us back to the beach to gather our things, jump back into his boat, then jump into his Jeep for him to drive us all the way to the cruise ship. Once out, I jumped out of that Jeep and took off running, leaving my mother yelling behind me, "Wait, I can't run." "What?" I yelled back, "You better." We made it back just in time as the anchor was being lifted. This adventure has given us many laughs over the years and countless points towards ride or die friendship. The transition phase that the scholars don't speak of is when the daughter is left with the difficult task of helping her mother to transition. By the time we reached this phase, my mother had raked up so many points in parenting, love, and friendship, there wasn't anything that I wouldn't do for her. Her battle with cancer often left her in pain that she tried to hide. But I saw the sudden twitches brought on by pain, or I could hear it in her voice. And I'd taken to giving her massages that lasted hours. It was my hope that she could hear in my touch the thank yous for a great life, for an exceptional example of strength, grace, and fortitude, and for nurturing love and friendship. This is ride or die status in its most literal sense. Scholars say the "I'm here if you need me" phase is when mothers transition into the support role. My mother has always been in this phase. Through childhood illnesses, career milestones, marriage, divorce, you name it. No matter what my sister or I do, my mother would always say, "I'm not saying it just because you're mine, you really were the best." She has been there through it all. Ever since her transition, her voice remains so clear when I'm seeking advice, and I go to the best friend I will ever have, my ride or die mom, and she says,